Hello everyone, I am the Enthusiastic Futurist, and today we are going to be building a landed booster in my series, Recreating SpaceX Droneship Landings in Minecraft. So in the first episode, we built the main deck of the drone ship, including the circles and the X in the center. And in the second episode, we cut out the corners of the drone ship. We added some cargo containers on the edges and a border to make it look more finished. And then in this episode, we're going to be building a booster. So as you can see, I'm starting off with a platform for our booster. And if you remember, if you watched the first and second series, I mentioned that the scale of this is 1 block for every 2 feet in the real world. So the booster in the real world is I had a metric on this, but I can't seem to I can't remember. But I know that it's the number of blocks. I think it's the same scale. I know that from when I made the booster. So now I'm just going to be selecting a black or a gray block that I can use, because the body of the booster, when it's brand new, it's all white with like a logo and a flag on it, a painting of a logo and a flag, and then it launches into space and then it re-enters, and there's like a heat shield by the engines, and it will the heat from the atmosphere will like dissipate and give like not actually the heat from the atmosphere, but because the atmosphere is so thick, and at some point because the atmosphere gets really thick and the booster is going really fast, it has to do an entry burn to slow it down so it doesn't like burn up on re-entry. It does an entry burn, and that means that the exhaust goes down and then back up at the booster, since the booster is still hurtling downwards towards the Earth. So basically a bunch of black soot gets stuck on the booster, but it only happens on the bottom where the fuel tanks is, because the liquid oxygen, because there's like a noticeable line between like almost completely black and like just really white, and that's because of the really cold liquid oxygen tanks. It builds up like ice on the outside, and that prevents the soot from sticking to the boosters. It's really cool if you've ever seen a picture of that. And then the upper portion is just a dotted white kind of thing. And so here I've decided that my circle is the wrong shape, so I'm going to be redoing my circle. Yeah, this was an interesting build. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be making the map available for download. Link in the description. So yeah, so I'm going to be building this in 3 phases. There's going to be like 3 parts to the video. There's like the building of the black sooty bottom of the booster, as you can see now, and then we're going to build the landing legs, and then we're going to build the white part, and then the dotted black and white part, and then we're going to just finish off the video, and that'll be the end of the series. And I'm thinking about doing some more Minecraft builds like this. I'm thinking about doing something with Launch Complex 39A. And speaking of LC-39A, SpaceX recently released a document. It's called, I think it's called Draft Environmental Assessment of Starship and Super Heavy at LC-39A at Kennedy Space Center, I think. But basically, it has to do with all the environmental effects, like noise, sonic boom, they like modeled who can hear it, and they like have like where's the infrastructure going for where they can store the fuel before prep, because Starship and Super Heavy are a huge vehicle and they require a lot of fuel. And interestingly, they're going to be using some of the space shuttle hardware that was pre-existing space shuttle hardware, so they don't have to build it. And I mean, there's like environmental impacts, like they don't want to hurt the wildlife that's living there, and there's also like historical. They have to preserve the history because it was, of course, the place where astronauts lifted off to go to the moon uh, several times. Most importantly, on Apollo 11. The Apollo 50 anniversary was just a few weeks ago. It was a wonderful holiday. I didn't get to attend any of the events because I was not where they were in Washington D.C. They projected a picture of the Saturn V on the Washington Monument, and that was just the pictures I saw of that were just so cool. Anyway, so here we're going to be building our the landing legs. So if you know, the landing legs work where right before the booster touches down on the surface, the landing legs deploy, and there's the leg, which we're building now, and then there's like the hydraulic pusher arm that just pushes the leg out from like flush with the vehicle to down and open on the ground. And so yeah, that's what we. So that there's like two parts. So as you can see, the part that's like going to the ground is at like a 30-degree angle, and then the part that like holds it to the booster is like, that like pushes it away from the booster is like at a 45-degree angle. And angles are really easy in Minecraft because everything's cubes. So if you want to make a 30-degree line, you just go 2 over, 1 up, 2 over, 1 up, 2 over, 1 up, and so forth. So far so good. Yeah. Yeah, it's this is going to be the last video in the series, which is unfortunate, but it was a nice series to get done with. So as you can see there, we have the two parts of the booster, and later in the video, I changed the like sides where the leg would rest against the booster to white instead of gray, because basically how it works is that the white, the landing leg takes in all of the soot from the engine exhaust, and it basically just covers up the booster. So when you see like a landed booster, there's always like those white sections where the landing legs used to be on the booster from the engine exhaust. So now we have 2 of the landing legs done, and we're gonna continue building on. I think that's 2. That might be more. So yeah. Actually, funny story about drone ships. The SpaceX drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, is being tugged to the Panama Canal, and I'm pretty I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure that I know that they're not doing any more Vandenberg launches, which is the launch site on the West Coast, because that is used primarily or only for polar orbit launches, and there's not enough demand for that. So I'm pretty sure what they're doing is they're going to be moving the Just Read the Instructions. That's the drone ship that's permanently stationed on or was at least permanently stationed in the port of Los Angeles. But I think they're going to be moving it to the Panama Canal so that it can be easily brought out to sea a little west for boosters to land on from Vandenberg when they do launch from there, which is like it's going to be at least in 2020. And they can also easily bring it over to Cape Canaveral because that's where most of their launches are from, and they can't launch as quick if they have to take a rocket, launch it, land it, and then it takes days and sometimes even weeks for the drone ship to come back to port with the booster, and then they have to remove the booster, and then the drone ship has to go for days or weeks out to sea again for the next rocket to launch. And so if they have two drone ships, that they can launch much more rapidly. And with Starlink becoming more of a present project that they're working on, that's probably going to happen. I was looking at the launch manifest, and they have Starlink version 1.0 launch 1 is happening in October. That's actually the next scheduled launch. And then they have like launch 2 is happening, and launch 2 and 3 are happening sometime this year. I can't remember the month. But yeah, the year's almost over, so but in theory, by the end of the year, we'll have half of the satellites required for moderate for I think it's like mild coverage or minimal. No, it's minimal coverage, and that's just like a thin band around the equator of the Earth. And that doesn't count the 60 that they already launched. That was version 0.9, and they did lose a couple, both due to error and experimental reentry practice. So I don't know what's going to happen with those. But anyway, here we are. We have built the booster and the landing legs on the drone ship. Now we're going to build the grid fins that go on the booster. These are important because they help steer the booster as it comes down for reentry, and because basically how a grid fin works is it's just like a piece of metal with a bunch of big holes in it, and then they can like steer it, and that steers the air, so it just orients the booster. But they don't work in space, obviously, because there's no air. So in space, they use nitrogen cold gas thrusters. So yeah, that was pretty easy. If you've ever watched a SpaceX launch live, or like a booster landing from the point of view of the booster, or launch, they always have the camera is like just above the grid fins, and the grid fins are at the top of the vehicle, at the top of the booster, and then above that they have the second stage and payload. Oh, and yesterday they had their almost 17 launch. That was successful. They caught the fairing in their boat for the second time. So here I'm trying to fill with water, but unfortunately I used the fill command and the deck is gone. And unfortunately in Minecraft there's no Command Z or Control Z or undo buttons, so I started over. But you don't have to see that because that's long. So now we're ready for the final reveal. I did change a few things that are, well, I did redo it so it's not an exact replica, but only the deck needed to be redone. So here we have the final version. As I said, you can download the map in the description. Yeah. So you can see the like white parts on the sooty area, which are from the landing legs. Yeah, it's a drone ship, and it's on water. I wish I could fill like the whole world with water, but that'll have to be for another day. Maybe I'll add an update sometime. So yeah, here is the view that I was talking about. This is basically how they the view from when it lands and comes into that to re-enter. So this is going to conclude today's video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and I will, as I said, I will not be doing mostly Minecraft videos. This is just a fun series. I'm mostly doing like scripted educational videos. My next video is going to be something along the lines of how to mitigate your effect on climate change. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, and I will see you in another video.